Hello, in this video, we're focusing on the practical concepts that you can actually apply in the real business world. Hope you enjoy it. Let's get on with it. Today, we're going to explore how Apple manages to acquire companies in a way that often goes unnoticed. We'll look behind the scenes to understand their unique approach to mergers and acquisitions, how they identify targets, and what makes their strategy different from others. This will give us insight into the careful planning and subtle execution that keeps these deals under the radar. Let's dive in and see what makes Apple's M&A playbook stand out. When most companies grow through mergers and acquisitions, the focus tends to be on big publicized deals that make headlines. Apple, however, takes a different approach. Instead of going after large blockbuster acquisitions, Apple quietly buys many smaller companies, often without much public attention. These acquisitions aren't about making a splash, but are carefully targeted to improve Apple's products, drive innovation inside the company, and remove potential challenges before they grow. In fact, Apple frequently acquires more companies than its tech peers, yet these deals remain largely under the radar. This strategy allows Apple to strengthen its offerings and maintain its competitive edge without disrupting its public image. In this presentation, we'll look closely at why and how Apple's understated approach to buying companies has been so effective over time. Apple's acquisitions are not about chasing traditional growth, but about aligning closely with their product philosophy and controlling their ecosystem for the long term. One key goal is to speed up their product development. Instead of building every new technology from scratch, Apple acquires companies that already have proven strategically critical technologies that are difficult to replicate quickly. This approach helps them accelerate timelines and bring innovations to market faster than relying solely on internal research and development. Another important objective is securing core technologies that customers don't directly see, but are essential to product performance and differentiation. This includes acquiring capabilities in semiconductors, sensors, AI, security, wireless communication, and battery technology. By owning these fundamental pieces, Apple reduces dependence on suppliers and gains better control over how these technologies evolve within their ecosystem, ensuring a future edge in their products. One important reason Apple acquires companies is to gain access to highly skilled teams rather than focusing on the acquired company's immediate revenue. This approach, often called acqui-hiring, allows Apple to quickly bring in elite engineers, designers, or AI researchers who can directly contribute to their product teams. It also helps Apple keep this valuable talent away from competitors, strengthening their innovation capabilities from within. Additionally, many of Apple's acquisitions serve a defensive purpose. By buying companies with emerging technologies, Apple protects its tightly integrated ecosystem of hardware, software, and services. This strategy helps Apple manage risks and maintain control over its platform, ensuring that no new technology threatens their position in the market. Apple's acquisition approach stands out because it favors small, frequent deals, usually under $100 million, targeting private companies or startups with niche technologies that have clear product applications. This focus allows Apple to avoid lengthy shareholder approvals and regulatory hurdles, enabling them to act swiftly and quietly. Tim Cook described this method as buying one company every few weeks in certain years, which surprised many since most of these acquisitions remain undisclosed. Additionally, Apple is careful to avoid cultural clashes. They rarely buy companies with strong independent consumer brands or large customer bases that might disrupt their corporate culture. When they do make higher profile purchases, like Beats or Shazam, these brands are carefully integrated into Apple's ecosystem. Overall, most of Apple's acquisitions operate behind the scenes, unnoticed by the typical user. When Apple acquires a company, it doesn't just leave them to operate on their own. Instead, Apple fully integrates the new teams and technologies into its existing structure. This often means discontinuing acquired products, retiring brands, and embedding the talent within Apple's broader organization. This approach ensures everything aligns strategically, but it also requires Apple to be really good at integrating new people and ideas seamlessly. Another important part of their strategy is buying technology early. sometimes years before it's ready for a product. For example, they acquired sensor and chip companies well ahead of launching Apple Silicon, and they brought in AR and computer vision startups long before the Vision Pro was announced. This shows they're willing to invest in capabilities that may not pay off right away, but give them valuable options and advantages for the future. Apple's approach to mergers and acquisitions reflects exceptional capital discipline. Even with hundreds of billions in cash reserves, they avoid getting caught in bidding wars or paying more than what makes strategic sense. If the valuation goes beyond that, they simply walk away. This careful approach helps ensure strong returns and reduces the risks that come with integrating new companies. Equally important is how deeply Apple involves its engineers in the process. Rather than letting bankers lead, technical teams evaluate and validate targets. This lets Apple identify promising technologies early on, estimate how they'll scale, and avoid investing in ideas that are still only at the demo stage. Thanks to this thorough technical scrutiny, acquisitions rarely fail because of technical issues, which keeps their portfolio strong and focused on long-term value. After an acquisition, Apple ensures that every project has a clear owner within the company. The technologies brought in are directly aligned with specific product teams, and these teams have well-defined milestones to meet. This approach prevents important innovations from being overlooked or turned into mere side projects, and it avoids duplication of research efforts. In other words, Apple maintains a strong execution discipline that is just as important as the discipline exercised during the deal-making process. Additionally, when choosing companies to acquire, Apple pays close attention to cultural fit. They prioritize teams that value secrecy, maintain high standards, and are comfortable working without seeking public recognition. This cultural alignment is essential for integrating new teams smoothly and quietly, which supports Apple's broader strategy of seamless integration. Apple's acquisitions often become invisible parts of their products over time, yet they are essential to the user experience. Technologies like Touch ID, Face ID, Apple Silicon's high-performance advanced camera features, and on-device AI all started as separate companies that Apple bought. But now, users usually don't realize these innovations originated outside of Apple. Instead of creating confusion with rebrands or competing products, Apple integrates new technology smoothly, keeping the brand consistent and improving products step by step. This approach helps Apple maintain its reputation for quality and reliability without diluting the brand or confusing customers. Over time, Apple's strategy of making repeated small acquisitions has allowed it to steadily increase control over key areas like its hardware stack, software frameworks, and supply chain dependencies. This growing control helps Apple minimize risks from external shocks and supplier influence while creating more distinct product differentiation. Additionally, unlike many other companies known for acquisitions, Apple has very few public failures. This is because the deals they make are usually manageable in size, integration happens quickly, and there is a strong focus on strategic alignment. When things don't work out, Apple tends to quietly retire the projects rather than make a public failure of them. This careful approach supports their overall discipline and contributes to the success of their acquisition strategy. Apple's M&A strategy is built on several structural advantages that most companies don't have. They have huge cash reserves and no urgent need to spend them quickly. Their internal product culture is strong, which helps them integrate new technologies smoothly. They take a long-term view, willing to wait for returns without pressure from investors demanding immediate results. These factors make Apple's approach hard to copy. However, other businesses can still learn from their playbook. It's important to focus on buying capabilities that align closely with the company's strategy rather than flashy deals. Once acquired, integration should be fast and decisive. Prioritizing long-term value over short-term excitement is key. Also, letting engineers and operators, not just deal makers, lead the process helps ensure successful integration and innovation. For companies looking to grow, adopting these principles offers a thoughtful alternative to risky, transformational mergers or acquisitions. The photo here of people reviewing charts and plans highlights the careful analysis and strategic thinking needed to apply these lessons effectively. And the Apple and Shazam logos emphasize a real-world example of Apple's method in action, acquiring a company with technology they could incorporate seamlessly over time. Apple's acquisition strategy focuses on precision rather than scale. It's about carefully choosing smaller companies that fit well with its existing ecosystem, which helps Apple grow stronger without losing its core identity or culture. These acquisitions often happen quietly and may not catch the public's eye, but over time, they add up to important advantages that keep Apple competitive. What makes Apple's approach unique is its discipline, knowing exactly what it wants and what it doesn't, turning acquisitions into a steady long-term capability instead of occasional big events. This careful, restrained approach ensures that the deals, while subtle, improve how everything else in the company works, proving that the most powerful acquisitions are sometimes the least visible ones. If you found this video useful, there's plenty of more business and finance videos on the channel that you'll enjoy watching and get great practical value from. In the meantime, thanks for watching.